Gunlance is my favorite weapon in Monster Hunter Rise. Heck, I made a whole video defending the thing, and that was the most fun I have ever had making a video. So I decided to jump back in for one last ride and give this weapon a dedicated guide video to help new players getting into the weapon, or for intermediate players looking to improve their skills. And if you are a new player who decides that they want Gunlance to be the first weapon they play, may I say that you are extremely handsome, smart, and based. Or like me, a complete idiot. If you decide to start the game with Gunlance, just know you are handicapping yourself. And that's not because the weapon is broken or terrible or whatever people are saying nowadays. It's because this weapon's learning curve is steeper than Snake's ass in Ultimate. Look how they massacred my boy. But if you are also like me, choosing Gunlance as your starter weapon will be the best mistake you have ever made. Because again, despite what some people say, the weapon you pick or even the efficiency of your build will not affect your damage as much as your skill with the weapon. And often, your starter weapon is the weapon you'll get the most practice with, meaning that your first weapon is usually your most powerful one. And with the Gunlance's mobility, utility, and complexity, there is not a single weapon in this game that I feel matches this weapon in terms of pure replayability. So let's blast straight into this and talk about... Before we talk about the basics, real quick, when I'm talking about a button input, I will be referring to the Switch layout, but here's the controllers real quick, so if you are playing on PlayStation or Xbox, just hit the corresponding button. And if you're playing on keyboard, that's rough, buddy. X to take out your weapon and Y to put it away. You'll probably never do this, but it's still good to know. You can perform a draw attack by pushing forward and X while your weapon is put away, and you can draw your weapon to a block by pressing the right trigger. Remember this, as it will be important later. When your weapon is out, X to poke and A to shoot a small explosion. You can press the right trigger to block. Pressing forward and X at the same time does the same moving uppercut attack that happens when you perform the same input with your weapon put away. X plus A, meaning pressing X and A at the same time, does a quicker but stationary uppercut. Pressing B does a little hop backwards, and pressing B while holding any directional input will make you do a hop in that direction. And doing that right after most attacks will have you hop in that direction, but keep you facing the same direction as the attack. Did you get all that? Great! Because all of what I just said is completely useless if you don't understand these. Now, the Gunlance isn't the only weapon with a triple gauge system, but it is the only weapon with a good triple gauge system. Shellings. These are the most important thing for this weapon. They are the explosion the Gunlance shoots, so it is imperative that you always have shellings. Each time you shoot, you'll expend a shelling. To get them back, while blocking, press the A button to reload all your shellings. All of your best attacks use these, so this is something that you are gonna want to do often. And if you run out of shellings, nothing will happen when you try to shoot one. Shelling damage also works differently from melee damage. They benefit from different skills, and shellings do the same amount of damage no matter where they hit, while melee damage is reliant on weak spots. Also, after most attacks, if you try to reload, it will do a quick reload instead, which is much faster than your regular reload, but has the downside of not filling up your second gauge, the Worm Stake Cannon. The Worm Stake Cannon is a stake that you can put into the monster that will do around 13 small ticks of damage, then explodes. It can be slow, but it's great for ending your combos. The last gauge we should talk about is Wyvern Fire. Wyvern Fire is one of the highest damaging moves in the Gunlance's kit, but it is very slow, and if used wrong, could completely flatline your DPS. To use this move, hold block, then press X plus A to execute the Wyvern Fire. Then you have to wait around 90 seconds before you can use it again. So to recap, shellings are the lifeblood of this weapon, and is an integral part of almost every playstyle. Wormstake Cannon is a slow, more situational, but highly damaging move. Both of them can be reloaded by pressing the right trigger plus the A button while doing nothing, but if you reload after doing an attack, the animation will be quicker, but will not reload your Wormstake Cannon. Wyvern Fire recharges over time. One of the core concepts of Gunlance is resource management, so mastering your gauges is key to mastering the weapon. And now that you know this weapon's basic attacks and have an understanding of how the gauges work, you're ready to get out there and kick some monster? No. Sit your butt back down. If you were to try and fight a monster just using the information I have told you so far, you'd get taken down faster than a Nintendo fan's passion project. And that's because one of the pillars of this weapon is combos. And I'm not talking about press X 3 times to do a big hit, or press A, then A plus the L to do a multi-hit. The combos you're gonna have to do in order to get good with Gunlance are really complex, and if I'm being honest, kind of really stupid. But once you get it down, you'll feel like an unkillable god. You might also feel some joint pain, but that just means you're doing it right. But before we talk about combos, I should probably address the Gammoth in the room. Okay, I lied. Gunlance isn't a weapon. It's 3. There's normal shelling, long shelling, and wide shelling. Different Gunlances will have different shelling types, so always check what shelling type is on each Gunlance before you make your weapon. Normal shelling type gunlances have the most amount of shellings, but that also means each individual shelling does less damage than other types. Along with this, their range is pretty bad. This type is great for people who just want to see as many explosions as possible. Long shelling gunlances have less shellings than normal, but more than wide, and its shelling damage is more than normal, but less than wide. When you think about it, long shelling is kind of the normal shelling type. Its biggest upside is that it has a more powerful wyvern fire and has longer range. This is the shelling type I would recommend to new players, as it is decent at almost everything and allows you to experiment and see what works. Finally, wide shelling, as you probably figured out by now, has the least amount of shellings, but the highest damage per shelling. This is the more defensive and reserved weapon. While the others tend to have a more explosive personality, wide shelling gunlances have short explosive outbursts, usually relating to how badly shafted regular lance in this game. This one's great for people who want a more safe and simple playstyle. Each of these shelling types have their own unique playstyles, and there is no right answer for which one to pick. Normal. But now that we've gone over that, it's time to talk about Gunlance has so many different combos and playstyles that it would take forever to go over them all. You could go for the standard full burst combo playstyle, which is all about achieving as many booms as possible. Or you could use the Hail Cutter long Gunlance combo, which focuses on achieving wyvern fire as fast as possible. Or you could jack up your melee damage as high as it can go, turn on brain dead mode, and guard poke the monster until it dies of boredom. A lot of the fun of Gunlance is finding your own playstyles and learning which combos work for you. So I'm just gonna tell you about the most common playstyles and how all the moves lead into each other, to help you get a better understanding of how you want to play. The most basic combo you can perform is the XXX combo. This just does a triple poke that does pretty low damage, so you're almost never gonna use this, unless you have a really small opening and you know your lance damage will do more than your shelling damage. Always make sure to press B to dodge after doing this, as it will reset your combo, allowing you to do it again. And if you don't press B after your final poke, your guy will just kind of stand there awkwardly for a little bit, until it remembers that it's supposed to be killing this anime-addicted tiger. Next combo is AAA. The first two attacks will just be regular explosions, but the third will activate your Worm State Cannon. This can be really risky, as Worm State Cannon takes an insufferable amount of time to end, and there are faster ways to use it, though the combo can be really useful if you need to get a Worm State Cannon, and for whatever reason, don't have any faster options. You can combine X pokes with A explodes to create a longer combo, but just make sure to not press A 3 times, because then it'll force you into a Worm State Cannon. A good example of this would be A 2 times, then X once to get an explode poke combo. Again, this is not something you will do often, but it's still good to use during smaller openings. If you hold down A, you'll do a charge shelling, which does more damage than a regular shelling, though in the time it takes to do a charge shelling, you can usually just do 2 regular shellings, which often does more damage. But the unique thing about charge shellings is that after you're done with one, if you move the stick back in relation to the character and press A, it will do a quick Worm State Cannon, which can be really good. The problem is, this move is a switch skill, which means you can choose a different move to replace this move if you want, and the alternative is actual flight. So you know, about as cool. When doing a charge shelling, if you hold forward on the stick, your character will actually aim upwards, which can be nice for hitting taller monsters. And I think Worm State Cannon might come out a little quicker if you do this, but I'm not sure. If you press X while blocking, you'll do a guard poke. This does less damage than a regular poke, but you don't need to press B in order to reset the combo, as well as being better for hitting higher weak spots. Also, this attack, as the name implies, is guarding. And while you can still get hit when you're doing the poke, you actually have a surprisingly large amount of time where the game considers you as blocking. But in my opinion, the most useful thing about this attack is that it is one of the fastest ways to get into a quick reload. This is because of its quick speed and short end lag. If you are not in the middle of a combo and want to reload fast, doing a guard poke into a quick reload is one of your best options. Cool! Did you get all that? Because we've barely started. Here we go. One of the most powerful combos the Gunlance has is the Full Burst combo. While there are multiple ways to do this, the most common one is first hitting X plus A to do a rising slash, then X to do an overhead slam. Now, one of the few things that stays consistent with this weapon is always after an overhead slam, pressing A will do a burst fire, which is the main thing you're trying to achieve with this combo. After doing that, press X one more time to do a wide sweep, then perform a reload, which is right trigger plus A to reset the combo. After that, press X plus A to do another overhead slam, repeat. So to recap, first X plus A, then X, then X again, then reload. After the reload, press X plus A to go into the overhead slam. There is also another way to perform the full burst combo, and that's either from a draw attack or by pushing forward and X at the same time when your weapon is out. This will do a lunging up thrust, similar to a rising slash, but it comes out a little slower and moves you a small distance forward, which is nice. Another difference is that what with the rising slash full burst combo, after doing the first attack, you press X to do an overhead slam, but with the lunging up thrust full burst combo, you have to hit X plus A to do the overhead slam. Basically, so while the rising slash full burst combo goes X plus A, then X, then A, then X, reload, the lunging up thrust full burst combo is done by pressing X, then X plus A, then A, then X, reload. Both combos loop in the same way, which as I stated, was after reloading press X plus A, then A, then X, reload. If this all sounds confusing, that's only because it is. But we're still not done with the full burst combo, because each move can branch off into a new set of moves, further complicating things. Okay, after Rising Slash, but not lunging up thrust, pressing X plus A again will perform a Worm State Cannon that is aiming up, which is good against certain monsters like Old Mother Narwa. If you press A after Rising Slash or lunging up thrust, you'll do a regular shelling that's also pointed upwards. This works like any regular shelling attack, so if you do 3 in a row, the third will be a Worm State Cannon. But there is one difference here, being that if you press X or X plus A after doing a shelling, it will not poke and instead do another Rising Slash. For Overhead Slam, as we talked about earlier, it will perform your Burst Fire, which is what you want to do most of the time. But if you press X plus A, it will go into a Worm State Cannon, which is nice if you need to end your combo early. If you press X after doing an Overhead Slam, it will skip the Burst Fire and go directly into the Wide Sweep, which is one of your higher damaging melee moves, so this can be good if you know you're gonna hit a really good weak spot, but don't have time to wait for Burst Fire to finish. Now for Burst Fire, the attack that happens when you press A after an Overhead Slam. If you press A again, it'll do a Worm State Cannon, and like I mentioned earlier, pressing X will make you do the Wide Sweep. This is one of the few attacks that you cannot perform a quicker load after using. Did I mention you should take notes? Then for Wide Sweep, you can press X or A or X plus A to do a Worm State Cannon, which is nice to finish your combos. Now it's also a good time to mention that the Worm State Cannon is one of the few moves that you cannot perform a quicker load after. The best thing to do after your Worm State Cannon is to press B, which will dodge, allowing you to start a new combo. After doing a quick reload, pressing A will do a shelling upwards, X plus A will do an overhead slam, and X will do a rising slash unless performed after a poke, guard poke, or shelling, in which will just do another regular poke. Doing forward plus X on the ledge will take you directly into overhead slam, and oh god, I think that's it. I'm gonna be honest with you. I have played almost 2,000 matches with Gunlance, and I didn't know some of the stuff I just said until now. Okay. Just press forward plus X, then X plus A, then A, then X, reload. To continue the combo, press X plus A after a quick reload to do an overhead slam. And if you want to end the combo, press X or A after a wide sweep. There are a million deviations you could do from that, but just don't. At least not until you're comfortable with the basics. Alright, who's the guy who said Charge Blade is the most complicated weapon? I just want to talk with him. Good news is that now that we got all of that out of the way, it's all downhill from here. Kind of. The full burst combo is the best normal type Gunlance combo, but for long shelling type Gunlances, while full bursting is good, there is another more effective combo. To do this, press the left trigger plus X at the same time, which will perform your Hail Cutter move. This is one of your wire bug attacks, all of which I will cover later in greater detail, but I should probably talk about this one now, as it is an essential part of the long Gunlance combo. The Hail Cutter, also known as the wee spinning move if you want to be more scientific about it, is your absolute highest damaging melee move that does one smaller hit on the way up and one bigger hit on the way down. It also has a unique property of reloading your shellings and almost fully recharging your Wyvern Fire. But other than that, once you land, it works the same way as an overhead slam. So after your Hail Cutter, press A to burst fire, then do a Wyvern Fire to end your combo. So that's gonna be left trigger plus X, then A, then right trigger plus X and A. One thing to note is that Hail Cutter doesn't fully restore your Wyvern Fire, so you're gonna have to do some full burst combos while you wait for it to recharge. You can actually improve this combo by instead holding down A, then tabbing A into Hail Cutter, followed by 2 separate A inputs, ending with a Wyvern Fire. Though, this will only make sense later. Wide shelling works completely differently from the other shelling types. Because of its low shelling count, full bursting isn't the most effective, except when it actually is. But we'll get to that. With wide shelling, most of your damage is going to come from doing the explode, explode, poke, explode combo, which is 2 A presses, then an X press, then another A press, reload. Though while that's cool and all, wide shelling Gunlances, and if we're being honest, all Gunlances are completely transformed by... Finally! Now we get to talk about the actual cool moves! Once we're done talking about guard reload. Now, this is a skill that you are never going to want to use if you're a normal or long shelling Gunlance player. It replaces quick reload, and not only does it just give you back 3 shellings, it doesn't even let you easily repeat your full burst combo, because pressing X plus A after doing it does a rising slash instead of an overhead slam, like quick reload. Its other changes from quick reload are that if you press X after doing a guard reload, it will do a poke instead of rising slash, and A does a shelling similar to quick reload. But while this switch skill might suck for normal and long shelling Gunlances, it is the savior for wide shelling Gunlances. Its perks are that it blocks while reloading, making this your go-to defensive move with wide Gunlance, and it replenishes your Wormstake Cannon, which is very convenient, especially in the context of Erupting Cannon. Erupting Cannon is a Sunbreak exclusive skill that's the alternative to Wormstake Cannon, and once you start using it, you're never gonna want to use a Wormstake again. First of all, this attack is so much quicker than Wormstake Cannon. Do you see that end lag? Because I don't! Naturally, this move does less damage than a Wormstake Cannon, but the trade-off is that it gives you a 20% buff to all your melee damage. And for a good amount of time too. This move is so good in fact, that I would recommend adding it to all your pre-existing combos. For the full burst combo, after using the burst fire, I will press A again to use Erupting Cannon, just to get that 20% melee buff. Now, this will interrupt your combo, but you can easily get back to where you were by doing a poke after the Erupting Cannon and then a quick reload. For the long Gunlance combo, I would recommend throwing in the Erupting Cannon after the burst fire and right before the Wyvern fire. And as for wide Gunlance, your combo goes from A, reload, to A, reload, reload. I think you get the gist. And because guard reload refills your Erupting Cannon, you are never gonna have to worry about stopping to do the slow regular reload again. Just the obnoxious knockback. I guess Capcom finally realized that Gunlance is too complicated, and thought wide Gunlance was the problem? Blast Dash is the alternative to charge shelling, where instead of holding down A to do a slightly stronger shelling, press A to fly! This one's pretty cool, I guess. Guard's Edge. Now this move is amazing. To perform this, press the left trigger and A to do this parry move, which comes out quick and lasts for a good amount of time. If you land the parry, pressing X will do an overhead slam, and pressing A will do a quick Wormstake Cannon. Also, you sharpen your weapon just by landing the parry. This move does it all! Defense, offense, sharpness management? This is probably one of the best moves in Gunlance's kit. Now throw it in the garbage, because we got backwards Blast Dash. This Sunbreak exclusive move replaces Guard's Edge, and it's like Blast Dash, but in reverse. It also gives you some iframes on the ground, super armor for a little bit when you're in the air, and is one of the fastest ways to get into a full burst combo. But no one cares about that. If you're out of shellings when you do it, it'll do this quick reload animation, but don't worry, this just means you have more iframes. After an attack, if you hold the opposite direction of where you want to go and then do a reverse blast dash, it will usually take you in your intended direction, i.e. hold backwards to go forward. Also, after doing a backwards blast dash, press X to go into an overhead slam, then A for a burst fire, then another A for Erupting Cannon, finished off by a guard reload, is actually the best combo for wide Gunlance. If you're a nerd! To reiterate, that is left trigger plus A while pointing your character in the opposite direction of where you want to go, then X in the air, 2 A presses, and a guard reload, which is right trigger plus A. Also, if you wait too long after doing a backwards blast dash, your guy will stop mid-air, and if you press X here, instead of doing an overhead slam, it will do a poke. You can press A after this poke to do an explosion, or X plus A to do an overhead slam. Since we already discussed Hail Cutter, let's go on to its alternative, Ground Splitter. While this move might not look too flashy, its utility is groundbreaking. Moving on. This move has good mobility, does similar damage to a wide sweep, and has super armor. After this move is done, you can either press A for a regular shelling, X for a quick Wormstake, which can be really good, or X plus A for an overhead slam. And oh, did I mention, you have full 360 rotation on this thing, so no matter which way you're facing, you can always just readjust and hit the monster. But most importantly, this move raises your shelling damage by 20%! So this is the go-to switch skill for all normal Gunlance players. Remember how at the start of the video, I told you to remember that you can draw your weapon into a block? No? Well, here's why. The downside of this attack is that when you sheath your weapon, the damage bonus you get from Ground Splitter goes away. So if you draw into your lunging up thrust, none of your shelling attacks will have that damage buff until you go into a Ground Splitter. Drawing into a block allows the Ground Splitter to be your first attack, giving you that buff right from the start. The other alternative for Hail Cutter is Bullet Barrage. Another Sunbreak exclusive attack, this is the strongest move in the Gunlance's kit. This move releases every piece of ammo the Gunlance has in one big hit, and if you're missing any gauges, the attack will automatically reload them for you. But be warned, the more things you're missing, the longer it'll take for the attack to actually come out. If you're missing shellings or wormstake cannon, it'll do a quick reload animation before activating. But if you're missing your wyvern fire, it will put you into a really long animation before you can actually attack. The good news is, you have super armor, all the way up until the attack actually launches. Bullet Barrage is a playstyle all on its own, and in essence, it's simply a better... Now, even though Wyvern Fire is an integral part of the long Gunlance's playstyle, for normal and wide shelling type Gunlances, it is the most slept on move this weapon has. And that's because Wyvern Fire is an overall loss in DPS, and it is more effective just to use your main combos. And while it's true Wyvern Fire is a loss in DPS, the people telling you not to use this move have a loss in brain cells. Wyvern Fire isn't an attack, it's a block. Because for the entire time you're charging up the attack, you're guarding. And with a weapon whose evasive options are reliant on wire bugs, having a way to quickly throw out a block can be a lifesaver. Not only that, but it's one of the only solutions for... Oh god, wide sweep. There is not a single move this weapon has that is more annoying, more dumb than wide sweep. Not only does this move take forever to come out, you know how backwards blast dash and guard's edge are great defensive tools that come out quick? Yeah, those moves take forever to come out of a wide sweep. And that would be bad enough on its own, but this move is an integral part to the full burst combo, which means you're gonna be using it constantly. This is the move that most likely causes the most frustration, besides Bullet Barrage, and the move that causes most players to give up on this weapon entirely. For most men, this means death. We are not most men. We are Gunlancers. We have the resources, the skill, to make these frames count. While none of your evade or counter wire bug moves work quickly after a wide sweep, your ground splitter actually comes out decently fast. Meaning that if you're stuck in wide sweep's animation commitment and a monster's about to attack, ground splitter is the best way to get out of a pickle. And as I alluded to earlier, Wyvern Fire also comes out relatively quick from a wide sweep, which is great if you don't want to risk the super armor, or need to wait for your wire bugs to recharge. Because I think I forgot to mention this, but all your wire bug moves come out really quick after a Wyvern Fire. Meaning that usually by the time your Wyvern Fire is done launching, your wire bugs will have come back, giving you even more opportunities to dodge or tank. And while all of this will take some practice, I have complete faith that you can get this down. And once you have mastered these techniques, you can turn your worst move into a viable move. It still kinda sucks. After you finish defiling Charge Shelling's grave, equip Blast Dash and get ready for takeoff. Hold down A to get yourself in the air. While you're in the air, press the right trigger plus A to perform another Blast Dash while mid-air. You can do 2 mid-air Blast Dashes. If you try to perform a 3rd mid-air Blast Dash, your character will do a Jumping Slam that keeps all your previous momentum. This is great if you just need that tiny little extra distance just to get to the monster. You can also perform mid-air Blast Dashes by holding down A. These work the same as the other mid-air Blast Dashes, except I think the game gets a little confused when you do this, because while the game is still registering that you want to do another Blast Dash, you'll kind of just slide along the ground for a little bit, giving you some extra distance, but it isn't that big of a difference. There is also a really weird trick you can perform, where you can do 7 Blast Dashes in a row, but it requires some really precise timing, and you should probably just watch the Chaos Slayer video on it, as they explain it really well. You can press the right trigger plus A to do an aerial burst fire, though this requires charge shelling, so yuck. If you press X while in the air, you'll do a jumping slam that stops your momentum. Jumping slams work the same as overhead slams, except if you press X after doing one, you'll do a poke instead of a wide sweep. Unless you press A in the air first, which will perform an aerial shelling that stops your momentum. Then if you press X to do the jumping slam, the following X will do a wide sweep, because this is an intuitive weapon. Also, most of that doesn't matter, since 99% of the time, you're just gonna want to go into your full burst combo. Except in the case of long Gunlance, where your best combo is enhanced by doing a blast dash into an aerial shelling into an aerial hail cutter, which is faster than when it's performed on the ground. So, like I talked about earlier, your best long shelling Gunlance combo is holding down A, then pressing A, then doing the left trigger plus X, then doing A again, Wyvern Fire. And now, finally, I think we are actually done. And the comment section will tell me if I missed anything. So, Gunlance can be a lot. There's a reason most guide videos are over 30 minutes for this weapon. If I had to try and condense all the information into a quick summary, I would say X to poke, A to explode, forward plus X, then X plus A, then A, and X again, the right trigger plus A to reload, then X plus A to restart the combo. Use your wire bug attacks to buff, evade, or combo off of. Though, with that said, Gunlance really isn't a weapon you can explain in a nutshell. It requires knowledge of most of the weapon's features, as well as the skills to put them all together, not to mention a lot of practice. But once you master it, you are never going to want to put this weapon down. There are also a lot of combos and playstyles I didn't talk about in this video, because one of the best parts of this weapon is having fun messing around with the moves to create really crazy playstyles. And believe me, there is some really wacky stuff you can do with this weapon. There are even people who play the weapon by ignoring all the cool parts and just deciding to slap the monster. So get out there, have fun, make mistakes, and use all the complexities and quirks of the weapon to your advantage, because that is the way of the Gunlance.